How's everybody doing today? It's great to see you folks. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Looks like we've got a few people here today, 7. Everybody check in if you want. I see we got Araya here, Melanie's here. Who else is visiting me today too? I know I didn't let you listen. I was keeping it all to myself. I'll probably violate some copyright rule if I let you listen to it, right? Good afternoon, Andre. Good to see you. Hope everybody's doing well. You know, I want to tell you that I really enjoyed class yesterday. I don't know if you folks had as much fun as the webinar as I did, but I had a great time. Cool. All right. Let's wait, see if we got a couple more people coming in. Uh-oh. Let's see what we got. All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, great. How's my video and my audio quality? Is the video jumping? Is the audio clear? Go ahead and help me out. Give me a little feedback. I'll wait for it. Hopefully it's great. Fantastic. Okay, good deal. Good, good, good. It's always nice to check. All right. Cool. Fantastic. Thanks to those of you that are logging in live with me today. I'm actually a little disappointed. I was hoping that we'd have more people here for the live broadcast, but that's okay. We'll do our thing without them. I had 48 people in my online 150 class today. Of course, I have 200 students in there, but about a quarter of them came. So I guess if 7 or 8 of you come, that's a quarter as well. What do you think of my backdrop? This is beautiful Puerto Rico. I don't know if any of you have ever visited Puerto Rico before. I actually really took this picture. This is not some airbrushed photo that you get after you do the color correcting. It's actually this pretty at Puerto Rico. And I hope all of you get a chance to go there. Yes, and the food and the alcohol is cheap and the people are super friendly. So I definitely suggest that you go. Holy cow. Hi, Jungen, Lorena, Erik Fleming. Good to see you folks. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. I tell you what, let's go ahead and get started. But before we do, I want to give you a couple of notes, okay? Notes for August 30th. So every day I'm going to try to start off with a few notes for the class. I just wanted to let you know about the course entry stuff. 28 out of 28 of you have completed the course entry quiz, which is fabulous. Thank you very much for that 100% performance this quickly. I really, really appreciate it. And 26 out of 28 of you have signed up for Remind. I wish we had 100% so I could switch to nothing but texts, but I'll be sending you a combination of texts and emails this semester. But thank you to all of you who signed up for Remind. Please be sure to go into the gradebook and check and make sure that you are given 2 points in your Remind extra credit column for signing up for Remind. Okay? Let's see. Also, the webinar on Wednesday. I learned Wednesday that I have to download the attendance report before I log out of the room. Otherwise, it erases the attendance. So if you would, please look at the email I sent you to make sure that your name is included as having attended on the Wednesday webinar. If you aren't on there and you haven't already contacted me, just send me an email and tell me what we talked about on Wednesday, and I'll be sure to make sure you get credit for that collaborative activity. If there are any questions, go ahead and type those in the chat bar. Meanwhile, we're going to go ahead and get started today. So we're going to finish up the second half of chapter 1 today, where we're going to talk primarily about research methods. But we're going to start off by introducing you in a social way to 2 iconic developmental psychologists, Jean Piaget and Erik Erikson. And then we're going to talk about research methods. I'm going to talk about descriptive research, correlational research, and experimental research, which I'm sure you all have probably heard about many times before. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about time span research, the longitudinal research method. And that's what I hope to accomplish today. Okay, so first let's talk about developmental icons. If you remember from Tuesday, I told you that human development is seen as occurring in 3 broad spheres or trajectories: cognitive development, socio-emotional development, and biological development. If there is any such thing as an important figure in 20th century developmental psychology, it would be this fellow right here, Jean Piaget. And he created what might be called the first model of how the human mind developed. He started way back, probably 80, 90 years ago with his research. And some of his stuff's a little bit out of date. But he's the first person to think of the mind and how it developed. You know, the crazy thing is this kid was supposed to be a biologist. He was a mollusk expert by the time he was 16 years old. You know, he actually published 5 papers in high school, scientific journal articles in high school. But he worked in Alfred Binet's intelligence lab as a young graduate and began to become interested in intelligence and how it developed. And Jean Piaget again, Melanie. I'm going to beat you over the head with it till you're so sick of Piaget that you can't stand it. But he is going to champion what we call a discontinuous model of mental development. He argues that your mind goes through 4 different evolutions of thinking, such that you think differently at the age of 1 than you do at the age of 5. You don't just know more, you fundamentally think about the world in different ways. He argues the same thing from age 4 to age 14. The 14-year-old doesn't just have 10 more years of experience. Their mind actually functions in a completely different way. And then those minds of the 14-year-old, he's going to argue that a 34-year-old isn't just 20 years more experienced than the 14-year-old, but that 34-year-old thinks in a fundamentally different way. So over the course of this semester, I'm going to talk to you about Jean Piaget, his main contrast, a fellow named Lev Vygotsky, and what we would call the neo-Piagetian research tradition that has grown up in the years since. Okay? Now, the other person I'm going to talk about, Andre, if you're out there, this is your man. I could tell in Wednesday's webinar that Andre was a big Erikson fan. He made a couple of comments, and even before he mentioned Erikson, I started thinking about him, and I'm like, you know what? I'll bet this guy Andre is a big Erikson fan. And absolutely, Erikson is going to, so whereas Piaget is a major figure in the developmental sphere trajectory of the cognitive dimension, Erikson is going to be a major player in the developmental trajectory of socioemotional or personality development. In his theory, he had a theory, I guess they called it ego psychology. He argued that we are all sitting there trying to figure out who we are through our entire lives. And what kinds of tasks and activities we use to figure out who we are changes depending upon how old we are. Now, I don't know if you know this, Andre, but Erikson had something of an identity problem himself. He never knew his first father. His first father abandoned his mom when he was an infant, and he was actually raised by a fellow named Erik Hamburger, who was his stepfather growing up. And he actually was a big 6-foot-tall, blonde-haired German Jew in pre-Nazi Germany. And so this guy had all kind of identity issues. In fact, that's why he changed his name to Erik Erikson. Erik, the son of Erik. He never quite knew who he was. And I don't know if you know this, Andre, but he was not actually a PhD psychologist. He never got a PhD in psychology. Instead, he was just an all-around kind of smart guy that worked with some psychoanalytic circles and became known as an expert in the field. And he developed his theories of identity development by studying the Lakota Sioux in the western part of the United States. So I don't know if you know this, Andre, but all of his theories come from his experiences with the Indians in the western part of the United States during the early 20th century. Over the course of this semester, we're going to be talking about identity. Who are you? What's important to you? And what is it that determines who you are going to be? So we're going to talk all about Erikson this semester too. I just wanted to introduce those two folks. And for the first exam, really all I want you to know is Jean Piaget and cognitive development, Erikson and personality development. And I promise you we will come back to them in quite a bit of detail. Okay? Now, here's the deal. Developmental psychology uses an evidence-based approach, a research-based approach. That's what differentiates science from other fields like philosophy and the humanities. We do our research based on evidence and observation. Right? So, in this book, we're going to cover different research approaches. We're going to cover 3 findings from 3 basic research methodologies, 3 basic approaches to gathering information. We're going to talk about descriptive research, we're going to talk about correlational research, and we're going to talk about experimental research. And sort of descriptive research is just out observing the world and trying to categorize and organize the things that you see. Correlation is when we take these observations that we made and try to see how they relate to other observations that we see and see if they're related. And then experimental methodologies are the most difficult and rigorous methodology where we try to figure out which kinds of things cause or impact other things to change. All right, so we're going to go over those quickly, and then we're going to talk about the longitudinal research method, time span research. Any questions so far? If you have any questions, feel free to type them right in the chat bar here. We've got 10 viewers. Wow. I just want to stop and say thank you to everybody for attending the lectures today and on Tuesday. I'm really impressed with everybody's motivation and level of focus. And I promise you it's going to bear rewards for you this semester. Okay, I'm looking at the chat bar and I don't see any questions, so I am going to just carry on. So the first way we can begin to make systematic observations about the world is just to go out and observe the world that we are in. And there's really 2 ways that developmental psychologists make observations. You can make them inside the laboratory, or you can make them in a naturalistic setting. So the psychologist can bring people into the laboratory and watch them as they interact with one another, or the psychologist can sneak out of the laboratory and watch people acting in their natural setting. So naturalistic observational studies are probably the realest in terms of external validity because a lot of times people don't know that they're even being observed. So that's the big advantage of the naturalistic observation is people don't know that you're looking at them, so they're going to act their most natural. Now, one of the problems with observations in general and naturalistic observations specifically is the lack of control in the environment. I don't know who I'm looking at. I don't know where they come from. I don't know what their background experiences are. So in those cases, we can get a little more control by bringing people into the laboratory and we can make measurements of them there. Now here's the deal. We're not trying to manipulate anything. We're just observing and categorizing behavior. Now, the problem with bringing people into the laboratory is they know that you're watching them. And so you sometimes have what we would call reactivity problems. People change when they're being observed. Some examples of observational studies. I don't know if you folks, we just mentioned Jean Piaget. I'm going to actually mention him again. Jean Piaget actually developed his theories of cognitive development by watching his own 3 infant children from the day they were born. And he had what is it called? A diary. And every day he would write in the day. So Laurent is 2 days old. And then he would do things to them. He would like maybe hold a piece of string over them or tickle them or touch them. And he would see how they interacted. And so Piaget developed his theories by observing his 3 infant children. And that's how he began to develop his theory of how infants begin to think. Now, he also developed theories on how children think in preschool and middle school. And he did a lot of this research by going out, watching kids play by watching kids play at recess. Is anybody else? Okay, no, it's on my end. Doggone it. I freaking... No, it's stinking. It's my internet. I'm going to have to fix this problem. Can you hear me, though? Okay, yeah, I'm going to have to settle this problem once and for all soon. Crap. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stop, and if I have to play this as a rewind, I'll do that. Okay, crap. Let me go ahead and type a